Welcome, friends and listeners, to People for People Radio. You're with Santos bonacci for at least the next hour. I did have a guest, but hey, things happen. But I do have a subject that I want to talk about, so that's why I'm still going to go ahead with the show, even though I just had an earthquake 10 minutes ago, which was probably around about 5 on the Richter scale. Since 2 weeks ago, I was in a 7.7 earthquake here, just 6 miles from the epicenter in Oaxaca, Mazunte, Mexico. So, yeah, maybe through this next hour there might be some tremors, some afterquakes. So, we'll see what happens. But it certainly is like riding a horse through the jungle when you're galloping on one of these vertically vibrating earthquakes. Those are the most dangerous. So today I just want to talk about truth, and my favourite expression about truth is there is only truth. There is only truth. What happens is there's a confusion in this subject, and now we have many people teaching there is no truth. And this has been expounded for the last couple of 100 years with the Jesuit Inquisition upon humanity, where there is no truth. The satanic left-hand path teaching, which leads people into all sorts of delusions. Because in all the sacred scriptures before the New Age of the Jesuits and their lying doctrines, there was only truth, and people did not expound their opinions nor theories unless it was grounded on accurate scientific knowledge, not pseudoscience, verifiable stuff. And so there is no truth is what the false prophets are teaching these days. They belong to the New Age movement. They have not researched the old scriptures. They don't know the old ways. They're not read at all. And they don't know from where we came. They really don't. Excuse me. They treat the sacred scriptures as a frivolous, trivial exercise in the learning of what they call mystical stuff, mystical. And they don't even realize when they use the word mystical to discredit something because it's supposedly a little bit out there. They are using the perfect word to describe truth, mysticism. And so, through their own mouths, they expose their own ignorance. They expose themselves. And you hear them say, some of these intellectuals, oh, that sounds rather mystical, what you're talking about there. Mystical. Well, if it were mystical, it would be the truth. Because mysticism is the highest level of truth. M-Y-S-T is fire. M-I-S-T is water. And there are 2 baptisms in general. The water baptism, a la churchianity, and the fire baptism, which John said, the one coming will baptize with spirit and fire. And in the world we have the common expression that the baptism of fire is the ordeal par excellence, which the ones who succeed in prevailing over this baptism once they've received it, these are the ones who are knighted and crowned as glorious kings like St. George or St. Michael, who slays the dragon, the devil, And so mysticism is what syncretism teaches, and that is truth. It's not theories, it's not opinions. And so syncretism knows the truth because it's a system. It's like music knows it is a true system. Music doesn't get afraid that the poor musicians that don't know how to interpret music well that it's going to be embarrassed somehow. Oh no, my name is going to be degraded now because this buffoon can't play the violin in key. No, music is music. It is a system of truth. An electromagnetic, sonoluminescent system of truth. And so philosophy is the same. Philosophy doesn't need to worry that its philosophers are on the left-hand path and not exemplary teachers of philosophy. Astrology doesn't worry that astrologers are poor diviners of their sacred science, and they do not know really what they are teaching, because astrology is a perfect science. So truth does not have to suffer these ridiculous expressions, there is no truth, because the universe is founded on truth. There is only truth. The word truth is rooted in the same root of Taurus. Taurus field. The only form that exists. The true atomic form, the Taurus field. Tauruth. Truth. Trrr. The trrr sound, which gives you the word three, and tree, and Taurus, all share the same root. Tornado, turn, talk, torsion. Reverse is rotate, rotor. And that's what torsion fields do. They rotate. There are three kinds of energy: direct, rotating, spiraling and rotating, in that order. And so these rotating fields, torsion fields, torque, is Tauruth. And it is the Tauri of life, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the Tauri, because a tree resembles a Taurus field. Obviously, the roots in the ground, root is backwards for Taur, and root again is rotate, roots rotating. And so the bottom half of the tree, subterranean, and the top half with the foliage is the top half of the Tauri with its Taurunk in the ground. And so that is where truth is rooted, in the Taurus field, and the Taurus field is the only true form, the magnetic field, with its cross members of the plane of inertia and the hyperbola at right angles to each other. The orthogonal, ortog, orto is an anagram for tor, orthogonal, which is the right-hand rule, or the perpendicular energy which is universal of all atoms. So what is an atom? It's a torus field. Simple. It's a neutron, a proton, and an electron. The neutron is the plane of inertia, and the electron is the gravitation, blue shift, left turning, centripetal, convergent, dielectric energy. And the proton is redshift, right turning, divergent, centrifugal, redshift energy. And that's it. That's what atoms do. Atoms are stars. And so this is how deep and penetrating the word truth is. It's connected to all of this. And I can go on and on and on and on. It's not an abstract, theoretical word which is not considered reliable and stable. It is the most sacred word in the universe. Everything proceeds from truth. You can't have love without truth. You can have truth without love. You can't have life without truth. You can have life without... You can have truth without life. So truth is first. Truth is God. It is the first cause. And the second cause is beauty. The one, the good, and the beautiful. Sorry, the second cause is the good, God. God comes from truth. God is not even before truth. Truth is first. So, syncretism is a system of truth. It can't be debunked. There are would-be debunkers, of course, and they like to make fools of themselves. So they go out and expose their stupidity. And you won't get truth in churches, for they are exclusive. Syncretism is inclusive. You go to church to be divided and conquered, and to be taught doctrines contrary to the truth, to the Torah, the torus rotating field, and magnetism, the laws of God. You won't learn that. You will learn a Santa Claus story about Jesus who came as a man literally, as though 4 Gospels are going to give you any real penetrating information about anybody who ever lived. It's obviously a Gospel. And what does a Gospel mean? Story. Fairy tale for adults. It's a fairy tale. But it's not a valueless fairy tale. It is the most sacred and truthful and important fairy tale that ever was. It is engraved in the universal magnetic field. No man wrote the Bible. No 39 men penned the scriptures of history. These are collections of sacred writ that have always been together in all ages of the universe, in all timelines. The Bible. Because it is truth. It's a system of truth. It's like music. Music has never not been. No one invented music. Pythagoras didn't come along and say, oh, all right, here we go. Here's your music. I did it. The universe does it. You know, Edison doesn't invent the light globe. The universe does it. Einstein doesn't have... Well, yes, he does. He has theories. He has no truth. Plenty of theories, like Copernicus, for instance, and his spinning globe. You see, the enemies of truth are the false lies and idols, and the scriptures tell us not to bow down to false idols. And the greatest of these are the 4, which I call the 4 paths to hell. And one is the Copernican theory of globalism and the global agenda, global warming, global cooling, global agenda, global diligence, global economy, global market, global governance, global religion, and there is no Santa globe. So, number 1, you don't know where you live? Well, then you will be lost, because that means you're lost. And that's what they want. They want you to be lost. Lost in space, flying on a ball, hurtling at Mach 88 around the sun, which is hurtling at who knows how many Mach. I think it's supposed to be 550,000 miles an hour around the Milky Way galaxy. And then the Milky Way galaxy in turn is hurtling around the center of the universe at 660 or 650 million miles an hour. So this globe, or this ball of dirt, sand, butterflies, soft atmosphere, water, hydrogen, it's hurtling at just breakneck speeds, and there are no constant earthquakes and shaking. It feels pretty still to me and to everybody. I don't feel like I'm walking upside down. Everything seems horizontal and level, and of course that's what it is. And they don't want you to be that. They want you to be spinning, hurtling, thrusting, wobbling, manoeuvring, and lost in space, a la Big Bang, and there is no order, pattern, designer. It's all just going to go one day, and you won't even know because you'll just deatomize and pulverize, and that'll be the end of you. And you only live once, so do as much harm as you can. So that's why the pedophiles are adrenochrome thirsty and vampires and parasiting off all the good people of the earth, and because they really do believe in this religion. If you only live once and everything's just flying around and no one knows where we are. So lie number one, and for all the false prophets out there who are continuously, repeatedly teaching the Copernican moon rock and sun rock and Mars rock where you can go and land, you're false prophets. You're going to have your panties pulled down and expose your little bits properly in time. Of course, the world at large does not know the truth, and the ridiculers and the trolls and the Copernicans, the Satanists and the Jesuits, they will continue with their global delusion. But the globalism is being broken apart because people are waking up, and all the intelligent ones know that the Earth is a horizontal, stationary, plane net. And this can be proven by the model of the atom or the torus field, which is the only model that exists. Every atom has a neutron or a plane of inertia, and that is the only part of the energy field which can be material. And that's where the Earth is. The plane of inertia is the planet of Eartha. And the neutron is that plane of inertia. And neutron gives you neutral, and neutral gives you natural. Neutral, natural, nature. Nature is nurture, the mother goddess. Mother nature. Mother neutral, mother neutron. The neutron of all atoms is feminine. Well, it's neutral, but when it translates into the material world, she transforms into the material goddess, whereas the proton and the electron are considered to be our Father who art in heaven, since there is no molecular organisms produced in that field. There is only one place where matter can be, on the horizontal plane of the plane of inertia, the planet of Eartha, the neutral natural plane. And Pier Luigi Igina, the great genius of Italy who worked with Marconi, said that the energy of the sun and the energy of the earth working against each other create the theatre of the earth where matter is formed. So this is pure science. Lie number 2, the lie of sexual practice. You see, once upon a time there were seminaries upon the earth, and the great masters would teach the young children what to do with their semen in the seminaries. And they were taught that the semen comes from chrism, the cerebrospinal nervous fluids, which are secreted from the claustrum, just under the cerebrum in the cranium. And the claustrum is the cloister, the closet, the little room in heaven where the manna proceeds. And the children of Israel are fed with the manna from heaven. Well, that's the nervous system, and the organs are the children of Israel, the liver. And they are fed through the pneumogastric vagus nervous system, supplying communications to the cerebrum, to those organs. Electromagnetic. Everything is electric. And so, as Santa Claus, or the Holy Claustrum, secretes this fluid at the North Pole and runs down the chimney, the spinal cord, this oil is differentiated as it goes down the endocrine system and the glands, and every gland differentiates the oil and dilutes it according to its condition and the frequency of the chakra of that gland. And so by the time it gets to the sacrum where sex occurs, it now needs to be used. And you see, in the seminaries, they taught that you can use those fluids to recycle them rather than ejaculate them in them. And those will be the materials with which the nervous system is to be nourished and rebuilt and transformed and generated. And in the process of time, 12 years is the minimum. The adept is able to generate a 13th cranial nerve and become a Christ-like immortal through sex. White, tantric, right-hand path sex, and with a loyal, faithful, loving partner devoted to the science of regeneration and christening, Christ ascension. And this is the story in all the Gospels. As Jesus said to Nicodemus, to be born again, you must lift up the serpent of the Kundalini through the chakras. As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so you must lift up the son of man, the chrism. See, if you ejaculate, you lose your chrism and you lose your charisma. You see, these prostitutes, they don't have any charisma, do they? Oh, they have plenty of lust on the left-hand path. Wanton, illicit, pornographic sex, left, right and centre, and depleting their nervous systems. They die with all kinds of venereal diseases and electromagnetic debilitations. Their livers get cirrhosis, they become acidic, they get cancer, they get all sorts of diseases, arthritis, diabetes, piles, and mostly venereal diseases due to the ejaculation. Simple. And that's what the Jesuits did as well. So not only did they teach us to not know where to live, where we're living, and our disconnect with the divine, but they are also teaching us to kill ourselves through promiscuous, degraded sexual actions. Sex is a divine gift, but only when used, not misused. As a knife is a divine gift from the gods, but many knives have caused much harm in the world. Be careful how you use the double-edged knife. Sex is a double-edged force. It will kill you and it will vivify you. It's your choice. There's black tantra, there's white tantra. And then there are those who practice grey tantra, the celibates, who are squandering opportunities to transcend, and they are stagnant. Oh yes, they're so clever, they're celibate, and they think that they're quite disciplined. Well, that's fine, but they're not ascending any scale, and they're not descending. They're just hanging around like bums. Lie number 3, flesh eating. Oh, there is no culture in the history of man that was not eating flesh. And mostly Christians will spout that parrot-repeated brainwashing. In fact, all cultures were vegetarian and did not participating in murdering sentient beings and eating their rotting corpses. And I like to remind Christians that for thousands of years the Garden of Eden diet was no flesh eating at all whatsoever. And people lived for thousands of years, hundreds of years of age. Then all of a sudden there was a great fall, a flood, which is a fall, same word, fall, flood. And all of a sudden the longevity of man, the lifespan is reduced 1/10. And people are struggling to live 100 years. And they're eating what? Not the Garden of Eden diet anymore. They're eating murdered, exploited, pimped, trafficked, sentient being, which they put in their freezers. It's called rotting corpse, and this is a betrayal of their bloodlust addiction. They are bloodthirsty. Flesh eaters are bloodthirsty. They get adrenaline fix from the pain of the animal's suffering in death, and they are asphyxiated. They are fixating on that rush of death, momentarily recorded in the flesh of the blood. So we have now the third demonic lie which leadeth unto hell. Murdering sentient beings and eating death. You are what you eat. Dead corpses is what flesh eaters are, and they are bums, because very often they like to have rump steak, otherwise known as cow bum, for their sophisticated intellectual outings with their wining and dining friends. And they go to the restaurant and they see this beautiful rump steak with steamed asparagus and beautiful French Cabernet Sauvignon. And you can sit there and delight in bum eating with your bum friends as you exploit animals and think nothing of their murderous suffering. What a sophisticated lot we are, and we call ourselves humanity. Lie number 4. And of course, these lies have done so much harm. For instance, the second and third lie, the sexual degeneracy of ejaculating is expelling life and killing yourself at one end of the torso. At the other end, in the mouth, we are ingesting death. So our diet is death, and our practices are death. Little do the young men know how much they are destroying and aging themselves every time they have their little pat on the back reward for romancing a woman for 3.5 minutes. And, well, I'd better look after myself now because I've been working hard for 3.5 minutes. And I'm panting and puffing and thrusting about like a monkey. And I need my pat on the back so I can sleep now. And the poor girl would wonder, was that it? That was 3 minutes of glory, Mr. Sleeping Man? And why do these men have to sleep? Because they've just killed themselves. And they've got to restore, they've got to go deep into deep sleep to get restoration from the magnetic field, because they've just detached themselves from God through the orgasm. So, I'm a big exponent of truth. And when I talk about these things and ridicule the false teachers of the globe and ejaculatory sex and the flesh eaters, I really do go after their leaders. Not the general masses who don't know any better, but their leaders and teachers. And they will always have very clever defences and retorts. You know, they're very clever, but they trap themselves in their own stupidity. You know, so what they are doing is creating a world of delusions for themselves, where they defend, like a pedophile defends their behaviour. You know, that little children need to be raped before they're 8, otherwise it's too late. And the children love it. They want affection, and they like pedophiles groping them and giving them all kinds of sugar treats, and they don't mind being exploited. They feel needed and cared for, you see. And they'll tell you that it's their bent, it's their choice. It's their choice if they want to eat meat. It's my meat. I love my meat. Well, it's not your meat. It's the animals' meat. If someone came along and hacked a slice of your bum with an axe and said, well, you see, I love my meat, and I'm a cannibal. What's the difference between a cannibal and a carnivore, flesh-eater human who eats animals? There's no difference. Oh, yes, but human life is way more valuable and important. So you don't kill humans, but you can kill animals. Not dogs. Or if you get caught hurting a dog, you're going to jail. I'll make sure of it. But you can have 3 or 4 sheep in your freezer. That's okay, because sheep, they're uglier than dogs. So because they're ugly, they get judged to be murdered and stuck in your fridge. So that poor little lamb that was just sniffing flowers one day and hanging around with mummy and sucking on mummy's tit, and you just came along, grabbed it by the tail and ripped its head off and stuck it in your freezer. I don't think that mummy sheep really appreciated that. Oh yes, but I'm a responsible man looking after my children. What if your children are hungry because their lives are more valuable than other lives? I get to feed them with other lives because I get to choose. I'm God now. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not in the Buddhist system, at least. Even if you harm a fly, you're going to hell. So, let alone a lamb or a veal. So, good luck on that one, tricking yourself about that, won't you? Oh, yes, I'm going to eat this bum and I'm going to trick myself. I'll get to heaven. I'll get there somehow by bum eating. Yeah, it's not going to work. Charlie, Bruce, Tom, Dick, Harry, and all you fools, it's not going to work. So that's why there is only truth. These are not my opinions. This is the system of truth that is universal. You can only break the rules of music so far and make your own genres and fusions and, that's permissible. But you can't destroy music and its truth. And it has its rules and its ways. And the other sad, sad lie is the vicarious salvation, historical Jesus lie. And this is for churchianity and all the dupes who are waiting for Jesus to come so he can change their nappies. Oh, Jesus is going to save me. He's coming in the clouds. You'll be waiting for another 2,000 or 2 million years, dude, if you keep waiting for Jesus to come in the clouds. It's a parable. It's an archetypal, superstar, perfect man-God example that we are to follow. Woden gets crucified upside down on the cross. Jesus gets crucified on the cross. Jesus is Jupiter Zeus, Thor, and his crucifixion. And Achilles, he gets it in the heel as well. So does Jesus. Nail in the heel. Hercules, all the heroes, they all get either destroyed by a boar on the 21st of December, or they get crucified, or they get, attacked by a savage animal, a tiger. It's the same story. Every god, all of them, every single one of them, not one excluded, dies on the 21st of December, is born again on the 25th of December. It's a story. It's the story of the year. And the sun, who is the Christ, who is saved from the winter and brings us back life in the summer, and rises every day in the east as our risen Saviour. There he is coming in the clouds. Our risen Saviour. It's the sun. It's talking about the phenomena of nature. It was personified and anthropomorphized, for sure. That's a good system. But it doesn't mean it's historical and literal. It's literary and eternal, non-historical. The story of Jesus in the gospel is repeating every day, every second, every year. Every processional cycle. It's how the world works. So these four murderous satanic teachings, globalism, no globe, black tantra, destroy your own vitality by ejaculating your Holy Spirit force out of your own body and depleting your nervous system and toxifying the blood. Self-destruction. Aging. People who do this, who ejaculate, rarely do they live past 90. They might live to 95, 99, but generally the prostitutes and the whoremongers and the massive ejaculators, they're dead in their 40s and 50s. They die as degenerates. No brains. Wrinkly, dried up like a prune, and dead. Dead as a doornail. Best way to die is ejaculate yourself to death. You know. There are teachers out there, false teachers, who are teaching, ejaculate your way to heaven, or orgasm your way to heaven. Orgasms are different to ejaculations, by the way. Orgasms are to be had internally. The energy is supposed to be kept within the body. It's your energy, it's not to expel. Every time you expel energy, you are aging. Flesh eating, the most demonic of the destructive lives, causing people to become dead in their works. And as you do unto others, so it will be done to you. As the elite watch us murder animals in abattoirs, so they murder us in Walmart, martial law concentration camps, jails, prisons, vaccines, 5G, and vaccines, and they're going to just come plundering and murdering millions of people. Why? Because they are murderers, and they deserve it. Oh, how can you say that, Santos? They don't, just because they're eating animals. Yes, they do. You eat sentient beings. You are a sentient being. You will be eaten. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. Same rules go for you, dude. What you can't make, you can't break. You can't make an animal, you can't break an animal. It's not yours to break. You cannot murder an animal and get away with it. There will be consequences. Hate me as much as you want and justify your flesh eating as much as you want. That's you are a flesh eater because there is no truth for you. But in reality, there is only truth. And then those who are waiting for Jesus to come in the clouds. Well, they'll be waiting, and in the meantime, they'll be degenerating while they are waiting. Because Jesus coming in the clouds are the grey matter in your cerebrum, in your cranium. That's the grey matter, the grey clouds that Jesus comes in, that's the pineal gland. He's in the clouds. He's coming in the clouds, but he's got to be coming. How can he be coming if every time you have sex, God magnetic energy, you're wasting it downstairs and the power goes through your organ and is gone forever, instead of recycling it up your spine so that the frequency can increase as it goes up the spine, back to the pineal gland to give it the nourishment and the minerals and it needs to be activated. And then Jesus will be coming in the clouds. It's self-activation. It's the ascension of the prodigal son back to the kingdom of his Father in heaven to reclaim his birthright. As Achilles came back from the 10 years of wandering and shot the arrow through the eye of the needle and conquered Penelope the higher mind's heart again and was restored to his higher self after being lost like the prodigal son and wandering around with his blind friends who turned into swine. But at least he saved himself. He was smart enough. And that is our calling, to save ourselves. Not by waiting to be saved. You know, if you're starting to sink in a sink pit, what do they call those, quicksand, you're going to reach around for some branches real quick. You're not going to sit there and go, yeah, look, I'll just think about this, and I'll just pick my nose and scratch my head a little bit and wiggle around a little bit more. There's a branch over there, but I'll just think about it. Like the Monty Python movie where they're just strategizing about how they're going to attack the Romans. And so they have a meeting while Brian is being tortured by the Romans. Funny, you know, they've got to have their committees. See, it's no time for that. You're busy now. You know, you have to reach out for salvation and save yourself from that sandpit because there's no one coming. You can scream and waste all your breath. Help, 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 help. After about a minute and a half, you'll be hyperventilating, and you won't have energy through yelling. Instead of keeping calm, acting now. Grab that branch. Pull yourself out. Because ain't nobody coming to save you in the clouds. It's a story. It's a good story. It's a truthful story, one that we must listen to and pay attention to, not to discredit it. I'm not discrediting the Bible. I will never do that. You know, I'll discredit some translations sometimes, but not, you know, so much that the Bible is discredited. It can never be discredited, no matter how poor the translation. So, those are the 4 lies of the 4 posts of the cross that will crucify you to hell, and repeated cycles of incarnation. So truth is first. It's the first principle. If you are out there and you're a teacher and you're teaching that there is no truth, you've been hoodwinked by the New Age movement, who is all based on scientism and theories. First and foremostly, the Copernican theory, then the Newtonian theory, then the Jesuit Big Bang theory, then the evolution theory, then the Einsteinian relativity theory. Those are the 5, the big 5. And those are the most harmful of all. First and foremostly, we're not wandering and spinning about. We're stable, we're stationary, we know where we are, we're here. This is our home. And it's geocentric. There was no Big Bang from nothing. There was a Big Bang from something. What is in counter space is something. And that's where the white light proceeded from, that black hole, which is counter space, which contains everything. So, if there was a Big Bang, it was not from nothing. You can rest assured on that. It is from everything, from the whole field of counter space, which is all-knowing, omnipotent, and omniscient. Then the Newtonian mechanical universe theory, everything is physical and then acquires consciousness, blah, 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 and gravity. Well, they needed Newton because for 150 years no one was buying Copernicus's Jesuit inquisitional bullshit because they knew their cosmology is taught differently. Even Martin Luther said, here comes a buffoon who calls himself an astronomer, Copernicus, who is now overturning all ancient traditions and making the world turn. What a klutz. He's going to make a name for himself as the biggest buffoon who ever lived. And all the buffoons who teach this satanic, upside-down spinning philosophy, theorem, according to Copernicus, a theory. Then we have the all is relative. Oh, the earth is moving, but then again it's not. But then again you don't know. And blah, 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 Einstein the Jesuit. And then you've got the evolution. What's his name? Who's the buffoon behind? I'm trying to think of his name now. I've named all the other clowns. But Darwin. You know, everything intelligently just transforms into this beautiful cosmos of order from a soup. You know. Well, he's a simpleton. Of course, the elites are inbred simpletons, and they're stupid. And of course, people are stupid enough to swallow that, you know. Obviously, there is a design. Where there is design, there is a designer. And it is intelligent design. It's not stupid. Therefore, it is an intelligent designer. And that designer is you. And you are denying God the moment you deny that design and that creation. You're denying your own part in all of it. That's how stupid we are. You're denying that you are so powerful that you can actually be a part of this harmonious, intelligent part and co-creator of this cosmos, which you are. A little drop of ocean water does never say, oh no, I'm forever lost now and I will never be the ocean again and I will never, ever, ever have the comfort of being in the ocean ever again. No, it knows it will return. It does not deny its source because it knows who it is. We, on the other hand, we don't even know that we are God. That's how stupid we are. Sons of God. Sons of God means God. You know. If I issue from my Father, then I am my Father's son. And I am a portion of his consciousness. It's in the DNA. You can't deny that. I've inherited that DNA, so therefore we are one. We are one flesh. That's why they are called families, cousins, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers. Because we are all of the same DNA. Same ocean. So friends, there is only truth. Truth is the first cause. Goodness and love and beauty are children of truth. Beauty does not come before truth. You can't have beauty without truth. You can have truth without beauty. You can have truth without goodness. You can't have goodness without truth. You can't. Goodness must be truthful. It cannot be a lie. So, truth is the first cause. It's the principle of the universe. The highest principle and cause. Causation. So, please do not fall for the false teachers. They are out in their droves, deluding the masses with the 4 lies and the 5 theories. The 4 lies and the 5 theories. One will remove you from knowing where you are, which is the first delusion. One will remove you from life and the magnetic field sexually. One will make you dead, a corpse, a living corpse, through flesh eating. One will make you lazy and unworthy of salvation by waiting for a vicarious saviour which will never come. Oh, there you go. The earthquake was 4.9. So, yeah, I thought it was about half. Yeah, that'd be half. To me, it was like 40% strength of the 7.7. And it was 23 kilometers deep in Lojica, Oaxaca. San Agustin. Oh, you've got to be kidding. That's only 10 minutes from where I am. So let's have a look at that. Gee. All right, guys. So this is only uphill from me, Lojica, Oaxaca. Wow. Wow. All right. So there it is. Yeah, it's only 10 minutes, the epicenter. So it's right here, man, on the southernmost tip of Mexico in Oaxaca, where I am, between Salina Cruz and Puerto Escondido. It's a beautiful, world-famous resort town called Mazunte, where I'm quarantined. I have been traveling. I went to Chiapas to see the Palenque pyramids, but it was closed. We saw the Tonina pyramid. So I did get around. I went to San Cristobal, 3,500 meters in the mountains in Chiapas. So that was a good 5-day trip. So there is a bit of movement here in Mexico. It's not all shut down. But the earthquakes are still happening. I've felt a few in the last couple of weeks since that one on the, I think it was the 23rd of June, just after the solstice and the new moon. The moon was directly opposite Saturn retrograding in Capricorn, in Aquarius. The moon just entered 0 degrees Leo, opposite Saturn in 0 degrees Aquarius, and that was what triggered the 7.7 earthquake. So apart from that, I'm having fun here in Mexico and doing many therapeutic healing protocols, including sacral cranial therapy, biomagnetic healing, massages daily, and aqua treatments, massages in the water. And I have had massive treatments on my neck, which has had many knots in it and restricting the oxygen flow to my brain. So I'm having a lot of results. I'm feeling a lot healthier. And my neck, I know it is due to all the work I do behind the computer and the bad posture, etc. And so all along my spine I had discs that were troubled, and I'm getting those worked on. So the results are incredible. Hopefully in a month or two I should have major healing along my spine. And so I think this has been the cause of many problems for me, including mental fatigue, owing most of it due to all the work I do in front of the radiation of the computer. And but obviously if the posture is not good, lots of harm can come to the body. So yeah, I'm just sharing that because many of us do suffer with these neck problems. So look after your neck, do plenty of yoga, stretch, exercise the neck, bones and everything, and get lots of rotation out of them. And just do general yoga for yourself. It doesn't have to be anything learned. You just need to stretch and feel comfortable in your body, do a bit of dancing, do a bit of walking on the dirt, barefoot, and all of these things will help. If I didn't do all those things, I'd probably be dead by now. So, but I'm still healthy and happy and getting better in my health, I'm happy to say. So friends, thanks for joining with me. Please devote yourselves to truth, be truthers, teach the truth, know the truth. You will know the truth and the truth will set you free. So long live the truth and omnia vincit veritas, which means in Latin, truth conquers all things. And as we see around the world, truth now is exposing the lies. They are much harder to be contained. They are much harder to be hidden. And many, many wins are resulting. So let's see if we can't prevail over the evil forces of the spiritual war, as it says in Ephesians. Put on your complete suit of armour of God so that you can succeed and conquer and prevail. Take courage, for I have conquered the world, said the Lord. All right, friends, love you and leave you. My guest didn't turn up, but I did have that subject I wanted to get out about truth. And I'm going to close off here as I feel that's enough energy expenditure, as I have other commitments today, and I'm happy I was able to share that. I had that in mind to do for a long time. So take care, listeners. Please support the radio station, People for People. Share the links, get the word out, and let's keep this platform alive and healthy and protect it. So I want to thank the guys there in the sound. Thank you very much. And hopefully I'll have my guest for today next week. That should be Micah Sky from Hawaii, teaching about healing through various protocols of massage and yoga. And he is a superstar. You can see him on Facebook, Micah Sky from Hawaii. Learn about his beautiful system of healing. Thank you, friends. Take care. See you next week.
And that's your fear. Santos, thank you very much. So you're having an earthquake just